After wanting to get into the Monster Hunter series for ages since it appeals to so many of my hyperfixations, from big swords to giant dinosaurs and monsters, no matter what I did, I kept bouncing off them. I played one of the 3DS games as demos and hated how it felt. I played World when it first came to PC, going in with the impression that I was going to have a game I could play seamlessly in co-op with my friends like Lost Planet 2 or Resident Evil 5, only for them to go, "Oh no, see you in like 10 hours. Then we start playing co-op. Combined with not liking how the weapons I tried felt and the plethora of issues the PC port had when it came out, I quickly refunded it. I tried Rise when it came to PC, and again, I tried to play it in co-op with friends, and I couldn't tell you at this point what the issue was since it's been like a year since we tried it, but it took us like 45 minutes to get into a lobby together that managed to work so we can go hunting. After that, I tried World a second time more recent since I bought both World and Rise in a bundle, and again fell off after a few hours. At this point, I had just accepted that maybe the series sadly wasn't for me, that the game I wanted wasn't what these games were. I had considered looking into a mod or two that would add health bars to the monsters, as one of the major things that bothered me was that I felt I was hitting a brick wall for 15 to 20 minutes before it would flop over, and seeing a bar go down would help quell the mind goblins. That made me constantly feel like I was doing nothing. I know that saying this to long-standing Monster Hunter fans is sacrilege, since the whole appeal of this series is to watch the mannerisms of the monsters, to see them start doing things like limping and watch their temperament shift and shit like that. This is very much a me issue, and I am well aware of that. But then, it finally happened. The series clicked into place, all thanks to the complete opposite ends of the spectrum for the franchise. That's right, the two games that made me really enjoy and get the Monster Hunter franchise were none other than the original Monster Hunter 1 and the newly released Monster Hunter Wilds. It's neat to see where Monster Hunter started and where the franchise currently is, because there is a lot to love about both of them, but they feel like functionally different series at this point. It's not a bad thing, it's simply the reality that a lot is going to change in 20 years of making games in a franchise, with people assumedly coming and going who worked on these teams. This is what lends me to liking different aspects of each game as I play them side by side. Both offer mechanical and gameplay experiences that the other simply does not have. So I'm going to do a quasi side-by-side review of both games at the same time, propping up what each filled me with joy while highlighting things they do differently and worse than each other. By design, this video is going to feel all over the place, but hopefully this will make sense at the end of the day. The thing that was really making me want to give the Monster Hunter series one final attempt to get into it was this random video that popped up in my recommended about the second game Monster Hunter DOS 2 years ago. It talked about a lot of interesting mechanics from DOS that caught my eye, like seasons and how much prep had to go into playing this game because things wouldn't always be available. It felt reminiscent to the preparation and thought process that has to go into playing early Armored Core games. The video made the game seem like this emergent life sim, for lack of a better term, in a way that felt reminiscent to the virtual tourism simulator goal from the original Yakuza games. If there was going to be any Monster Hunter I tried, it was going to be that one. But recently, a friend told me how Monster Hunter 1 was having its online preserved through old school Monster Hunter fan servers and invited me to play them. I took them up on this offer, and I could never have expected the reaction that accepting my first quest and going out into the world for the first time would have elicited out of me. It was like man first seeing fire. It was like seeing the inside of the briefcase in Pulp Fiction. I instantly knew that if I ever saw this moment as a child, it would have altered my brain chemistry. The way the music swells and you see the dinosaurs off in the distance. I would have never shut up about this game if I played it when I was 12 years old. So much of this shit is exactly what I love about PS2 styled visuals that have been lost in the progress to high fidelity graphics. I love the giant vistas you can look off to in the distance like in the first area, the waterfall at the base camp for the jungle zone, even the swampy marshland areas that you can see the mountains off in the foggy distance. There are so many vibrant and varied locations that are a joy to explore and see what they were able to achieve with the limited hardware of the time. It's what I always love about older games, because it is a lot more impressive to see something like this being attempted in 2004, in the same way that it's a lot more impressive to see insane practical effects and stunts done in older movies compared to shooting stuff on green screen and just doing CGI. It's not that the latter doesn't take time, effort, and craftsmanship from years of training to be an expert in your field, it's just that there is a level of convenience thanks to modern technology that weren't allotted to the former, which always draws me in more. What can I say? I'm a lover of art versus adversity and making something ambitious within the confines of your limits at the time. Wilds takes this scale in a different direction, where one is selling the wonder of its world in a very Jurassic Park coded way. Like that opening MV when you boot up the game could easily have been something right out of Jurassic Park 3. Wilds is bombastic with its ability to give detailed animation to monsters, their fighting, and how they affect the land around them. The first thing that really impressed me about Wilds' tech is when fighting Ray Dow and their rail cannon blast superheated the sand into glass fixtures on the ground that you can use as cover and have to maneuver around in the battlefield. It was that first holy shit moment for me. Same thing with seeing Duna majestically jumping off in the distance out of the water. The monster animations are seriously impressive and lend to really selling the illusion that these are real monsters with ecology that makes sense. You could completely ignore them, but seeing the pack of migrating armadillo guys that act as lightning rods also helps breathe this life of believability into the world of Wilds. There's a lot of little details that this game gets right that makes the world feel so believable and real. I would say that Wilds is a good looking game when it isn't marred with the checkerboard dithering that makes it look like I'm viewing the game through a microwave window. But I do think that it does take a very long time for Wilds to really hit its stride and come together visually. This might get me some heat in the comments, but from what I've seen from both of them, I really dislike how World and Rise look. The areas I've gotten to were very drab and ugly. Maybe they're the same case as Wilds, where they get much more interesting in the late or post game, because most of Wilds is low rank, the place where like 90% of the story currently in the game is very monocolored and takes place in various caves of the given biome. That's not to say that there weren't moments in low rank like when you fight Lalabrina where it shows the potential vibrance, but man, you go from sand cave, jungle cave, snow cave, lava cave, to cum cave. Honestly, there's just a lot of caves in this game. It wasn't until I went out for my first high rank quest to fight Yankutku, which I have some other feelings on we'll get into later, did the game's vibrance really hit me. I just stopped while chasing after the damn flame chicken while it flew away to marvel at the scenery, wondering where had this game been up until now? It makes me sad to see that the series has seemingly lost the charming visual aesthetic of the first game for something I find a lot more samey from everything else currently on the market. It also makes me really interested in playing Generations Ultimate next, because everything I've seen about that game feels like the logical conclusion of the visual identity established in Monster Hunter 1 that I love. That game looks right up my alley. Beyond the visuals and vibe of Monster Hunter 1, the other thing that I had a blast with is the online experience it gave me. If you are someone like me, then you were young enough to hear a lot of funny stories of early internet and early online gaming experiences from those older than you. I am one of those people that was too young to get into something like World of Warcraft at its peak, but also old enough to hear people reminisce about it and watch in real time as the shift of how the internet operated occurred, seeing things like Xbox Live clans and shit of its ilk exist before most online gaming experiences turned into competitive games or games as a service second job slop. The menuing and lobby system of Wilds was designed by Satan himself, trying to navigate all of this bloated mess of submenus, drop-downs, in-game proprietary friends lists, and actually getting into a lobby with your friends where you can all actually see each other takes way more effort than it ever should in an online-centric multiplayer-focused game. Alright, can you see me yet?
No.
Awesome.
Oh, there you are.
I love video games.
Finally loaded in. You've been in the lobby for like a full 2 minutes.
No, like more like 5 minutes.
couldn't see each other.
Why are so many online games like this? I just want to hit play and press invite and be with all of my friends, but instead you got stupid bloatware shit like link parties, squads, an in-game friend list that is separate from your Steam friend list. Joining your friends' lobbies often results in errors. You can't join your friend's open link party with space unless you were invited, and you can't join them in the middle of a hunt off of these menus and instead have to go into town and talk to Alma, or attempt to talk to her out in the field and hope that her AI doesn't freak out, causing her to never stop moving. All so you can open up a menu, then be able to join your friend's lobby. Then you talk to her again in said lobby so you can view the hunt board, and then hope that the quest actually shows up because there's a chance it simply doesn't. And if you try to join, hope that it doesn't just give you the error code that it also sometimes gives you, which still doesn't even put you in their link party. I do want to say that it does become easier to use once you know, here are the things that you can completely ignore, and here are the things that actually matter and allow you to get into the game as fast as possible. But my god, does this game have one of the worst first-time user experiences I've ever encountered for a new game. I went into making this video with only planning on talking about Monster Hunter 1 and Wilds, but since writing and editing this, I have actually played a bunch of Rise, and playing with friends in that game is so fast and easy. Why are we going backwards? Why have the systems gotten worse? It's so simple and easy to play with other people in Rise that I was able to stream and have random viewers join my game in and out over and over again over the course of a few hours. It was actually even easier to set up the PCSX2 emulator and just connect to the fan servers than it was to try and play with my friends in Wilds at times. Sure, it does get annoying that you have to log in every time when booting up one, but we would just go into town and join the same instance, and there is even a lobby list so you can make sure you're joining the right one with the right people. Though I should mention, for as much shit as I'm talking about Wilds in its current state, they are going to add that hub thing in the first title update, which is not out at the time of recording this. It likely will be by the time the video is done, so it should be noted that things will likely improve, which kind of lends credence to it's not worth playing games at release. Though I would be remiss not to mention that the connectivity in both these games is surprisingly very good, to the point I want to say it's impeccable. In Wilds, I am playing with random Japanese players on the other side of the planet, and I don't feel lag at all.
Originally, I was going to make a comparison to Marvel Rivals and how people lag really bad in that game even if you're on the same coast, but it seems that I've lost the clip of my opponents teleporting around like they have packet loss, so you're just going to have to use your imagination.
When people use the speed up feature in the PCSX2 emulator, or your group has a connectivity hiccup, you definitely do feel the desync and monsters can teleport around, but otherwise it's incredibly playable, especially considering the fact it's fan servers. Monster Hunter 1's online has allowed me to travel back in time to the early 2000s and get to experience it in all the goofery firsthand, playing my titular character Nuts as he tries to become a high-rank hunter.
We are broke.
Hunt! Kill!
Munda, have you encountered the infinite hogs? There were so many hogs. Munda, we got to go fight the hogs again.
I can talk. Can I fight hog?
Get in here, Munda, smiley face.
Feast mode activated. Hashtag hungry.
Munda, thanks to you we put a dent in the infinite hogs numbers.
Next, we meet. I will be stronger.
If I had the money I would get you Xbox.
Farewell.
I love you, Munda. I won't forget you.
Love Munder!
Less than 3.
Less than 3.
And then we never saw Munder again. It was a simple case of two very silly ships passing in the night.
I miss Munda.
Munder! How Scar so fast?
I'm playing with fast forward from emulator.
Nuts too slow.
Tab hotkey.
Nuts zoom.
Nuts, you coming?
Need money.
We're gonna hunt.
Selling wife.
Hunt for money.
For Lance.
Hunt for wife.
Cut coup is good for money. Sell here. GG.
Ear.
Don't run. Don't fight.
Too late. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, smiley face.
Nuts new. Nuts kill monster.
Nuts bam bam.
Nuts, L1, L1, L2, R2.
If Nuts understood, he would agree. Nuts try mix honey and herb. Wish Nuts luck.
Nuts mix it real smooth.
Nuts make garbage.
Ha 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 LOL.
Depression. For Nuts?
I just want to take a moment to rant for a second that to make this, I found out that AI has secretly ruined another thing, and that is funny text-to-speech. All of the text-to-speech websites like Acapella that had Will from Afar and Will Little Creature, you know, the meme voices that were in all the videos from the past few years have been completely replaced with generative learning AI voice stealing garbage. All right, back to the real video now. The online role-playing experience I have always wanted goes hand in hand with how the game's structure and progression is laid out. A thing that me and my friends would eventually find out is that we were approaching the game wrong initially. In Monster Hunter 1, you really have to build yourself up as a hunter in order to be able to fight any of the large monsters unless you are a god at the game from the get-go and don't take any damage, or you should expect you're going to be carting a lot and walking away with little to no rewards. We were too weak and shit to be able to fight Yankutku right away, but that didn't stop us, or stop me when I would try to fight them solo and it would go even worse. A lot of the easy early quests you should be doing are the gathering focused ones, or the requests that have you fighting small monsters like the Velociprey or Kelpie. A thing that I really liked about these missions, and by extension the progression of the game as a whole, is that it all feeds into itself. You go on the mission to get 10 raw meat, and instead of just going right away killing the monsters, harvesting the meat and turning them in as fast as possible, it's best to use the 50 minutes allotted to you and hit all of the spots on the map where you can gather things like herbs and most importantly unique mushrooms. You get the 6 to 10 on the loaded in map, then you turn in the quest. You then return to town and boot up the gather 15 unique mushroom mission, bringing with you the 10 you got from the previous quest, and then hit all of the gathering spots again, and then you make sure to pick up the maximum amount of raw meat you can carry, which is 10, so you are continuously building up and up your reserves of items and reducing the time each mission could take by slowly and partially getting what is required in other missions. Eventually, after doing enough low stakes quests, you are finally strong enough to go out and fight your first big monster, and despite how repetitious it gets, the feeling of accomplishment as a result is otherworldly. Finally killing Yankutku for the first time after all of the failed attempts, wasted money, and being broke for hours felt like getting gold at the Olympics. And then you realize that fighting monsters is easily the worst feeling part of this game. Even after getting accustomed to the controls and some of the terrible camera angles you will run into, where random shit will block your vision like in the jungle, the combat feels very stiff, even on something you would think would be one of the faster options like Sword and Shield. Like wow, it feels like you are swinging in slow motion sometimes in Monster Hunter 1. It makes turning on the emulator speed up feature feel like the Green Goblin mask calling out to me, even if I know it ends up making the monsters freak out for other people as a result. In retrospect, I think how the Greatsword felt, along with how it's very strict and punishing with its animation locking, resulted in me bouncing off the series initially. At times in Monster Hunter 1, it feels like what if every weapon was Greatsword and even slower than they were in World. Usually in other games, Greatsword is the brain-dead Unga Bunga grog weapon, but from what others who have played this series a whole lot tell me, Greatsword is one of the harder weapons for this exact reason. Because, man, it is so easy to just never be able to land any hits with this fucking weapon. I'm so glad I picked up the Switch Axe. I love this thing, Switch Axe, my beloved. It makes me sad knowing that when I go back to Dose, I won't have access to it at all, and I'll need to find something else to main. The combat in Wilds feels great. At times, I do find myself getting caught off guard and thrown off by some of the remaining stiffness, but it feels incredibly smooth. The game has pretty much cut all of the chaff and just gets right into the monster fighting for the most part. More on that later. I do understand how the addition of focus mode makes this game play like a complete departure from everything that came before it. Greatsword, for example, is so much easier when you can use focus mode to just freely be able to move around, instead of being locked in place for a fiscal year anytime you try to swing the damn thing in any of the other games while all of the monsters have long since moved out of the way. I feel for those who who are going through the stages of grief feeling that the series they once loved is being morphed into something completely different right before their very eyes, so it can appeal to dum-dums like me who couldn't get into the series beforehand. Trust me, I'm going through it currently too.
Oh, come on. Are you fucking kidding me? Really? We're undercutting this with a fucking joke?
But man, what can I say? This game just feels so good to play. The hit feedback is godly, and you look so cool doing shit like this. Landing a parry and the screen shakes and you launch towards them? Fuck, few games are doing it like this. Power clashes look so amazing. I love doing them. Though while I like the wound mechanic, I do think that in its current state, before any updates or an eventual expansion, it is a completely unbalanced, broken system in an online setting. If you are playing with anyone with as much as a pulse, then you will be stun-locking monsters to death and they just don't even have a chance to do anything. Even high-rank Raidao, one of the largest monsters in the game, was still getting stun-locked for over a minute before it got up, roared, and flew away to a new location where we quickly did the same thing. I understand that people likely found the opening hours of collecting and building yourself up boring as shit in the original Monster Hunter, as it is antithetical to the Monster Hunter title, but there has to be some happy middle ground to reach that keeps this form of progression and world building without completely abandoning it, or doing what Wilds does with the god-awful walk and talk segments that put you on rails for like 5 minutes while you walk to the next location or objective and you shoot your little zip line at items to pick at them in the environment like it's Capcom's attempt at a Pokemon Snap clone. This is also what really brings down the story in Wilds. The story itself is fine, outside of the last minute plot beat of Nada going, "He's just like me for real," before laying witness to an ecosystem destroying bioweapon. But by far the biggest issue is the presentation and the way the story is structured by locking you into multiple quest chains you can't back out of to go play with your friends and hunt other monsters. It's really fucking annoying and it makes me want to skip cutscenes just to give me back the freedom to do what I want, especially since it seems like Wilds is one of those terrible co-op multiplayer games where it doesn't recognize that everybody is doing the same quest at the same time and allows you to do them seamlessly. Instead, you have to do it for one person and then repeat it for everybody else, forcing your group of friends to constantly jump in and out of parties together in actual playtime because, oh, we actually have to progress the story ourselves and then meet back up. It's less of a game that you can play together with your friends through the story and more, hey, you've all beat the game, let's all go play with our friend who's now getting into it. I do appreciate that Wilds has mostly cut down on the extensive grinding that I have heard so many horror stories about when trying to make gear and weapons in the previous games. I am currently enjoying this series a lot, but I have come to the conclusion that I don't think I am someone who would put 500 hours in any single title of the series. When going back to earlier games, I am just going to do what I currently have done with Wilds, do all the fights at least once, see all the monsters the game has to offer, make some of the late game gear I find cool, but don't keep running the same content over and over again to the point that the repetition really sets in, so the cool shit no longer has that wow factor. I don't want to get to the point I am at in FF14 where I am doing dungeons and trials and just feel nothing because I have done that shit 10,000 times to level up a bunch of classes. I want monsters to still feel that wonder when I first fought them, not being another thing to add to the checklist I need to cross off for the day so I can make my BIS gear set. For example, I fought the funny frog like 10 times because it could not get the jaw to break so I could make the funny frog hammer, and by the time I finally got it, I was really starting to feel that repetition I don't want to have. I already really do not like how you have to make low rank gear of all the monsters you fight, and then you have to remake the gear again once you get to high rank. It feels like I am regressing rather than actually making progress beyond numbers on a sheet that I don't care about. I don't like getting attached to end of low rank gear only to have to go back to the start of low rank gear from start of the game monsters, but now it's titled high rank, which magically has more stats. Oh, you really like that Zin Ogre gear you spent all of that time making? Well, have fun going back to Lagambi gear. It's high rank now, so it has better stats. It just makes me feel like I'm playing the game twice for an arbitrary reason. If saying this makes me a casual, then so be it. I would rather play the game less and still enjoy it than squeeze all of the blood from the stone and look back on when I actually enjoyed the game compared to how I am now, where I feel like I'm playing it because that's just what you do. I did not know how to fit these last few points into the script naturally, so I'm just gonna shove them in at the end, starting with how Wilds constantly bombards you with pop-ups and screen clutter. Even playing through Rise, it does the same thing with the seemingly unending amount of tutorial pop-up messages. I get it, there's simply a lot of mechanics and subsystems in these games. I think that Monster Hunter 1 goes way too far in the other direction, where it just throws you to the wolves, leaving you to your own devices to the point you just have to look everything and anything up because you were expected to buy a physical game guide from your retail store of choice back in 2004. But so much shit popped up on either side of the screen in Wilds to the point it just made me block those segments out of my vision, tunneling in on only this segment of the screen. So when I ended up streaming the game, I would keep asking my chat, hey, did I get the part I was looking for? And they would get annoyed and confused since it popped up on my screen like a minute ago, but I didn't notice because after nearly 50 hours of playtime, my brain has been trained to ignore all messages on the right side of the screen. The last thing is that while Monster Hunter 1 has a steady escalation of scale and power, albeit a very slow escalation thanks to its grind, the progress of what monsters you fight is very satisfying. Wilds, on the other hand, once you get to high rank, the first thing you do is fight fucking Yan Kuku and Gypsaros, the two assholes I spent the first hours of Monster Hunter 1 fighting. It just felt like such a step down in complexity since they are basically the exact same thing, outside of Gypsaros now having an extendo tail attack, and they make no use of that spectacle and scale achievable with the cool weather or environmental tech that the main game's roster uses in low rank like Rei Dao, Uthduna, and Jindahad. Hopefully any of the monsters added in the title updates will do that, but seeing as these guys are just the same shit from 20 years ago, I think I'm setting myself up for disappointment, hoping that any of the returning monsters from the previous 5 generations will do anything like the main roster of this game either. It just makes you wonder, why the hell did they make a game that could only run well on top of the line PCs, like mine with no issues, for tech and features that only the base roster actually is going to utilize? It just feels like such a waste and will result in hurting your own game and alienating most of your fans. The game is currently sitting at a mixed rating on Steam, but seeing as they apparently sold like 8.5 million copies in the first day, I fear that they're going to take away all of the wrong information from that success. I am glad I was finally able to get Monster Hunter to click for me. It's interesting because I'm getting such a vastly different experience from each game, and as a result, I am liking them for completely different reasons. There are bits of each that I really adore and other aspects holding them back from being the perfect game for me. My ideal Monster Hunter that I envisioned in my head is one that takes the preparation and build-up of the original Monster Hunter, but vastly undercuts the grind. It keeps that excellent world building and life sim, hunter sim aspects, but not at the cost of having a well-paced lineup of epic fights with monsters with the game feel of Wilds. I can understand the longtime fans of the franchise's frustration with how the current games are, because it does feel like a lot of the stuff that made those old games cool is gone, but also I just really like the new games as well. It's changed enough to the point that it's basically a different subgenre now. While writing this video, I was making my way through Rise, and by the time it's out, hopefully I will be done with Sunbreak, depending on how long it is. As I've referenced throughout the video, the game that has me the most interested is Generations Ultimate, as Valstrax is just the coolest looking thing ever, and I really love the aesthetics of that game from everything I've seen about it. Going forward, I am fully locked into the series and will likely have played all of them before you know it. If you've made it this far into the video, I just want to say thank you for watching as always. If you really like my videos, then please leave a like and comment and pass the video around. If you want to see more videos like this and really help support the channel, either become a patron on Patreon or a YouTube member. In my personal opinion, Patreon helps the most as long as you aren't going through Apple, which takes a percentage of its own, but if that is unavailable to you, then YouTube memberships are completely fine. I'm now going to shout out all of my $5 and up patrons and members who really help support the channel. Comrade Video, Mr. Spoo, Harrison, Gnome, Bad Gamer for Life, Sam, Uncut Ninja Dope, Leo, Average Joe 777, Overture Saint, Morgan, Burley, Bully, Chikun Highwin, Dencha, Dev Welkin, Fish Kami, Friday Night Fragging, Kevin Velasquez, Maxi89C, Metal Cactus, Medi Not the Bad Guy, MGS Duh, Quartz, Samuel Egan, Sayan Heggy, Scary Dinosaur, TV Head, Vaso, Valetti, Alec Joseph, Ben Johnson, Ben Olberg, Buckets, Chichometrius, Ekphraso, Hardleg Joe, Leon, Lotto, Neutral Guy, Nicholas Pedinato, Sean the Berserker Fighter, Shisaji, Slemf Tingle, Tabriz Sadiq, Turbo Chicken, and Jacob Hamilton. Thank you so much, everyone. As for what's next, it's either going to be a Psycho Patrol R video, a Transformers PlayStation 2 video, or a video on the Raido Kuzunoha duology. The first two are probably the things that are coming out before that because I do have to play through two 40-ish hour RPGs for that video. And by comparison, the Psycho Patrol R video is just an impressions on the early access, and the Transformers PS2 game is not nearly as long. Follow me on Twitter or Blue Sky to keep up to date with upcoming videos, and whatever ends up coming out first, I hope you enjoy, hope to see you there, and see you next time.